Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Taylor Gallo, and today I am with the lovely
Desi Gato.
And today we are at Magic 13 Brewing Company, and we are learning how to brew beer. So come along and watch the process.
Let's go.
Welcome to Magic 13. Magic 13 Brewing has been around for about 2 years. Started by 3 friends, one of them which is our head brewer, and the other 2 are part of operation. I manage some sales and operations for the brewery. I'm also a brewer myself. We've been around, like I said, for 2 years. The name Magic 13 comes from two parts. One part is 2 of the friends that opened are actually also family, and they're in Colombia. One of them gave the other a brewing kit to make beer at home many years ago, and that kind of excited him to get into brewing, and he opened a brewery in Colombia called 13 pesos, which means 13 pesos, which is a currency down in Colombia. And then the other part of the Magic 13 name is where we're at. We're technically in city of Miami, township of Little Haiti, but the development that we're in is called Magic City Innovations.
Oh, cool.
So when they found the spot, they combined the Magic and the 13 to honor the brewery in Colombia. 2 businesses are not related, but except for the people that run it. But that's how the name began.
That's cool.
I love that. Lucky number 13.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you guys know about beer? Like, how do you know how it's made?
I know it's yeast,
Great.
water,
Yeah, absolutely. Very important.
wheat, right?
Yeah, malted barley's wheat, exactly.
I think that's it.
And for our IPA lovers, hops. So,
Hops, that's right.
Hops, yeah.
Okay.
Those are literally the 4 core ingredients in making beer. You can make beer, any type of beer, with just those 4 things. You can make it taste like chocolate with just those 4 things. You can have banana and tropical fruity flavors in the beer just with those 4 ingredients without adding. Some people think like, oh, I taste chocolate. There's no chocolate in most beers.
What about citrus beers?
Citrus beers also, you get that from a combination of the yeast, but mainly from the hops. So hops play a very important role in brewing. They always have. Number one, they originally were meant to keep beer fresh for a long time, apart from balancing the beer out. So if we didn't put hops, which is a bitter flower, into the beer, then it would be like drinking sugar water. It's super sweet. So by adding that bitterness, it balances it out to the beer that we're used to drinking traditionally. So how the process works is beer comes, the malted barleys, the grains and stuff like that. Most popular grain that is used is called churro, and it's used as a base grain. The whole purpose of using grains is to extract sugars from them in order to convert them into starches. To extract starches in order to convert them into sugars. So the malted barleys or grains that have the most starches is what is more appealing towards beer, and it also impacts flavor. They do, like I said, they come in these big sacks, and we put them through this blue device there. It's called, it's a mill.
This
and
thing?
Yeah, that one right there. And it's only meant to crush the grain. We're not trying to make it into a powder. We just want to break it in order to get access to the starches that are in there. Once they get milled through that, then we go back to these 4 vessels. Now, we are in a brewery, but these 4 vessels are considered of the brew house. So just the vessels themselves. The first one, the one on the right here, it's called the hot liquor tank. And as the name might suggest, it's where the hot liquor, the hot water is there, not alcohol, but the hot water that is used for brewing. That's where it starts this process. And the following vessels is called the boil kettle. The next one is the mash tun. And the last one is similar to this one, is a cold liquor tank. Number 1 ingredient and most important ingredient in brewing is water. Obviously, without water, we wouldn't have beer, right? And water chemistry is extremely important. A lot of people kind of take that for granted sometimes. They just think, oh, of course there's water in there, but the chemistry of the water is extremely important. So that means the mineral content and the acidity, all that will impact the flavor of the beer. So water is put in there, and then we treat it. We either remove or add the things that we need in the water in order to it be perfect for the beer that we're brewing. Different beers will require different types of water in order to give you that final taste that you're used to when you drink an IPA, or you drink a lager, or you drink a dark beer like a stout. In average, water is brought to temperature after it's treated to about 168 degrees here. Again, all this varies depending on the beer that you're brewing. Some beers will require you to have higher temperature for that water or lower temperature, all depending on what you're brewing. When that water is ready, those grains that we talked about earlier get brought up here. And at the same time that the grains are being put into that vessel to the left, it's called a mash tun, the water is introduced. And we want the final temperature of that water and grain to be anywhere between 145 to 155 degrees. Again, all this also varies. What that does is the water the grains steep in that water for about 60 minutes. And steeping there, all the starches in the water get converted into sugars. And that's what we want. That's the final ingredient that we're gonna use during fermentation in order to convert, to get alcohol. Once that period is done of 60 or whatever minutes, then the water gets transferred into the boil kettle. And now in brewing, that liquid is considered wort. So we call it wort, the liquid water, which is, like I said, pretty much a sugar water. Once it's there, we want to boil it. We want to get it to boiling temperature over 220 degrees Fahrenheit as quickly as possible. Once it's boiling, then we introduce hops. So the four main ingredients, like we said earlier, in brewing is water, yeast, malted barley grains, and hops. And the purpose of hops is originally when beer was brewed in the past was to balance the sweetness of beer, but also to preserve it. So hops are a natural preservative. In fact, the reason you guys have heard the term IPA, Indian Pale Ale.
Yeah.
The reason that phrase exists is that England was colonizing India, like the country India. They needed to feed their soldiers, have beers for them. So, but that beer got made in England and transferred over to India until they started being able to do it over there. And in order to keep it from not going bad in the ships, they would add a lot of hops to preserve it. So it would be really bitter, but the beer would last the whole trip, and they could be enjoyed by the soldiers in where they were at in other parts
Very
of the world.
interesting. Some history.
Yeah, there's history. There's a lot of history in beer. Beer, in a way, saved humanity. When there wasn't drinkable water, fermented drinks.
And it was safe because it was boiled.
Exactly. So yeah, plus the act of fermentation creates alcohol, and alcohol neutralizes a lot of bacteria and stuff like that that's harmful to it.
It's true.
That boils in there for about 60 minutes. That also varies depending on the beer that you make. And like I said, we add the hops to balance it out. At that point, you can add additional things to that liquid for flavor. But for the most part, it's just going through that boiling process and adding hops at certain parts of that process. Once that's done, now we need that liquid to go from 220 degrees to about 68 degrees Fahrenheit to be able to introduce yeast into to do its thing. So we put it through this device called a cold transfer device, and that hot liquid goes through it, and at the same time we're pumping water that comes from regular CD water, but also from the last vessel, the cold liquor tank, which has a food-grade glycol, which we use to cool down the beer, but we also use to maintain temperature in the fermenters. That liquid goes through, and it's not connected to a vessel, but it goes through with one of these hoses into the fermenting vessel. Once it's in there, we want to make sure that it's at the right temperature for the yeast. You can see it says cold, yeah. We want it to be at the right temperature for the yeast. Different types of yeast will create or produce ethanol and CO2 to specific levels that we want it to, depending. One of the key features is temperature. They're in the right temperature, then they are comfortable, they're not stressed. Remember, it is a living organism, a single-cell organism that makes alcohol. The whole purpose of yeast as a single-cell organism is just to reproduce. That's all they care about. They just want to make more of themselves to keep on going on. And they use the sugar that's in that liquid as energy. They transform that sugar into ethanol, CO2, and there's other stuff that also comes out of that. But the main two ingredients that we care about, and that's how beer is made, is that ethanol and that CO2. In modern brewing, the CO2, so the gas in beer naturally has bubbles in it from this process. But you can't control it when you just let it do it on its own. So we actually release the CO2 during fermentation. So right now there's active fermentation in this vessel. Millions upon millions of yeast are multiplying, and then that multiplication are the off products, which is ethanol, alcohol, and then CO2, which is the gas, the natural gas, is being expelled. We let it go out naturally, so that at the end of the process, we can actually make the level of carbonation the right level, depending on the style of beer. This is stuff that's been developed in hundreds and hundreds of years. Brewing is one of the oldest professions in the world. We've been making beer since forever, fermented liquids. Once we know that the beer is at the right temperature, we'll use 68 degrees as a level. Now we're ready to introduce the yeast. Top up there, we open it up, we introduce the yeast, and then it takes about 3 to 4 days for the yeast to go and do that. Go ahead and consume and process all those sugars. It converts them into ethanol and alcohol, and then it stops. They don't die out. They kind of like get full. They did all they could, and then they sink to the bottom. They just kind of go to sleep. We take advantage of that. That's why these vessels are conical like that. That yeast sits in the bottom of the conical ferment, and then we're able to pull them, and they're good. They're good yeast, so we can reuse it again for another beer. It limits on, and it all depends on the beers that you're. So they stay in there. Like I said, it takes about 4 days for the yeast to go through this process, and then we kind of let it sit there. And that's one of the terminologies of the beers that you might know. There's two big categories of beer types. There's lagers and ales. Lagers are the most popular beers that we know about, all the big commercial beers, the Budweiser, the Bud Lights of the world, Coronas and all that stuff. And then ales are your IPAs, your dark beers, your sours, all those types of beers.
Is that more craft beer?
What's that?
Is that more craft?
So
it's ale.
Craft is a definition of the type of business that it is.
Oh.
We want to make it seem that it's artisanal, which it is. We're more creative at the smaller scale. But a craft brewery is described as an independently owned brewery, or an independently manufacturer of spirits or fermented.
The mom and pop of beers.
Mom and pop of beer. So for, you guys have heard of Yingling?
Yeah.
Yingling, even though it's a humongous company, technically it would be a craft brewery because it's independently owned. It's owned by a family.
That's so interesting.
It's not a macro company like I said, Budweiser and the Coronas of the world. They'll sit in there for an ale. That process takes about 2 weeks. It all varies again depending on the beer and the type of beer that you're making. For a lager, traditionally it would take about a month. Even though it's the beer that takes the longest to make, it's the most popular because it's balanced, easy to drink. That's why everybody in the world. They're in there for anywhere between 2 weeks to a month, depending on the beer. Once that liquid is ready, that means that we measure it and we make sure that all the levels are correct, the alcohol levels that we're expecting, and that it's balanced and it tastes well. Now we're ready to get it ready to package. Now it goes from that 68 degrees that we were talking about earlier. We drop the temperature down again to like the mid-30s. That's called cold crushing, and then anything that's left floating about in there will also drop down. That's what we can collect to the bottom. Now you have clean beer that you can put in kegs and stuff like that. You gotta introduce that CO2 back into that liquid. So that gas. So we introduce, this is the gas line. And we introduce that CO2 at the level that we want. We want it to be at a certain level of carbonation so that it emphasizes or improves the taste of the beer. That's really what carbonation does. Like that's why soda is so popular, because the fizziness and the bubbles, and it just kind of opens up the taste of whatever liquid you have, and it brings out everything you want to get from it. Once that cold crushing is done and we introduce the gas, now the beer is ready to consume. We put it in kegs, like you see all the kegs over here, or we can it for distribution. We are fairly new. Like I said, we've been around for 2 years, so we do have live distribution in South Florida area, but we've been on growing. Apart from our beers, our location is known for great music, a great live music venue. Apart from last year, we were voted #1 brewery in Dade County.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And the prior year, first year, we were voted #1 live music venue in Dade County.
Okay.
So we're known for that. And then we just make sure that we make really, really good liquid. We're also a distillery. We don't distill on site, but we also have spirits that are sold, our branded spirits that are sold here. We sell wine and food. We have great food as well. If you haven't been, it's a great place. Make sure you visit after we're done here and enjoy.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yay.
Thank you. I did think it was so interesting that it takes over a month to make some beer. Like I never would have imagined.
Yeah, I mean, with modern technology, things are expedited more, so it doesn't take as long as they used to. But traditionally, and for some beers, it does take. In fact, we do our Oktoberfest, and that beer sits in the tank for over a month, and then we transfer it into those wooden tanks, which are called feuders. Now, those tanks, they're not really used for fermentation, but what they do is the liquid contact with the wood takes flavor from the wood, so you get oakiness and woodiness in the beer. It's another process, and then it sits there for 3 months.
Oh wow!
Some beers can sit in tanks, just getting better, like wine.
Yeah.
In wooden barrels or in tanks, just so that they can, with time, kind of transform and elevate the level of taste.
Very cool.
That's
I would say it's
awesome.
worth the wait.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I did think of a question.
What's that?
So you're like a beer expert, right? So what's your favorite beer?
I always get that question. So usually it goes around, what's your favorite style of beer? And I always say my second favorite style of beer are saisons, which are a French style saison, which the flavor complexity of it is mostly from what the yeast produces rather than the other ingredients that are in it. My favorite beer always changes. The great thing and why I love this industry so much is that it's constantly evolving. People are always coming up and creating new things. Apart from making the beer, I deal with people. Science of it is one of the things that appeals to me the most. Biochemistry, mechanical engineering, all these different disciplines that you got to put together to just bring a glass of beer to your hand. Makes it really, 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 really good. This is not what they look like in nature. Hops is like a flower, kind of like a cone flower. But they get processed and turned into these little pellets for easier use.
I don't think I've actually ever seen
My
it.
hands are freaking like horrible. I have to like cut my nails, so I'm using my hands for it.
It looks like
Turtle,
bird
like-
food.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like parrot food.
Yeah, it does.
What?
Just grab
You go
it.
first.
It doesn't smell nice, to be honest.
It's gonna be bitter.
It doesn't really taste like much.
There you go.
It tastes like bird food.
That's terrible.
So these are gonna be grains. That's how we get them here. They're malted grains. They've been malted and dried, and then after they get milled, this is how they get turned into. So that they're broken in half, and then all that white stuff that you see there is all the accessible starches.
Okay.
And that, like we said, it gets put in there with water and converts those starches into sugars.
Very interesting.
That you can taste it. That doesn't taste, but please taste it.
Oh,
You can't be
shit.
trusted, sir. You can't be trusted. I ain't tasting
So
nothing.
one of my favorite smells in the world is in the morning when we start brewing, because it smells like cereal. So we put that in that grains in the water and you smell like cereal. So I walk in here and the brewing process starts, and it's my favorite smell in the world.
Aww,
I love that.
That's so cute.
We're gonna make like a perfume out of that.
I don't think a lot of people will wear it, but yeah, we could.
Just for you though. What makes a honey blonde ale taste so good?
Well, number one, the main ingredient in a honey blonde ale is usually honey. So that is one of the beers that will add a fifth ingredient, which is called an adjunct. So an adjunct is anything that's not part of those four main ingredients: hops, water, yeast, and malted barley. Sours especially get a lot of adjuncts. We'll add fruit. So we have one sour right now on tap. It's called prickly pear. We add prickly pear puree to it in order to get that level of sweetness and tartness that you get from the prickly pear on a base beer that we use for it.
So there's more sugar in a honey blonde ale then?
There is more sugar and non-fermentable sugars. There's just kind of like just a taste of honey there.
Okay.
Beer has a lot of sugar. In fact, it's literally made from sugar converted into alcohol. So not the most healthy, conscious thing to eat a lot. It's like you're drinking bread pretty much. You can make a honey ale without honey using those four ingredients, but most real honey ales use natural honey. which is also great. Also, one of the most popular fermented beverages in the past was made just from honey, mead. You guys see it like in the medieval movies, mead is just honey that gets fermented. Honey mixed with water, and then it goes through added, yeast is added. So no hops, nothing else is added to it, just that.
I actually thought of a question as well. What is the difference between the brewing company and a brew house?
We are a brewery, so the entirety of it is a brewery. A brew house is just those 4 vessels that we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
When somebody says, you know, oh, this is my brew house, they really just mean to this equipment. This equipment in here is not a brew house, this is the cellaring room, even though it's in the same room, but this is where you cellar the beer and you go through the process of fermentation. And then the brewery is the entire building, all components of it that puts it together.
Okay,
cool. Very cool. And there you have it. That's exactly how you make beer. Very interesting. What's your favorite beer?
I don't really drink beer, so this is all a brand new experience for me.
Really?
Yeah, I swear.
I've been to one brewing company before, but Honey Blonde Ale is my favorite.
Aw,
yeah.
That's nice. Cool.
Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, cool. I learned a lot, so that was nice.
Same, that was cool.
Interesting. I'll be a beer drinker now for sure, from here on out.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. See you on the next video.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Let's go!